Well, I don't know how many years on this earth I got left. I'm gonna get real weird.
Hello, my beauties and bees. Welcome to another look at just the theory here. And our topic today is going to be another wild one, and sort of in the vein of the Nephilim clown thing I covered recently. So hopefully you're here for it because it gets kind of bizarre. This is going to be some claims made about top hats, like top hats. Yeah, like what they wore in the late 19th century. Yeah, let's get into it. This is coming to us from Mind Unveiled. Nice intro, though. I like that. I'm gonna say I give compliments where I see them. That was really well done. Yeah, it gives me kind of an idea what your channel's about, too.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Anyone with a top hat is a Mason.
Ooh.
Well, at least when it comes to the early 1900s.
That's a big claim, a big theory you're throwing out there. Is that your theory?
I don't trust any of these people with top hats. But what is a top hat? And why was every single person during this era wearing the same exact outfit?
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, that coat right there with the leopard spots on it and that black. That is freaking sexy as fuck. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
It's something we never really questioned.
Not with the plaid pants though. Not with the. Oh, dang it, now.
Era wearing.
Not with the plaid pants though, but the just the jacket itself. Love it. With the top hat, it looks really good. The plain black ones look good too, but I don't like the plaid pants. The pinstripe pants are okay. And the jacket with the plaid on the inside looks alright, but the two guys wearing plaid pants, it's not working for me. I'm sorry. It really makes you look like a court gesture more so than having some style. Yeah, just my opinion though.
In the same exact outfit. It's something we never really questioned, but when you look into many of these old photos, everyone is wearing the same thing. Especially all of these corporate hats, robber barons. They wouldn't leave their house without a top hat. But what is a top hat, and when did this all begin? When it comes to top hats, we're typically speaking of a high hat, cylinder hat, or topper, which is traditionally associated with formal wear in the West that came to rise during the end of the 18th century. On December 1st, 1940.
That's so weird. You don't. I guess it just makes to make it like there has to be some kind of explanation for a fashion, right? People wear some really bizarre things that have come into fashion throughout history. Just, I mean, it's like asking, what's a like with the flappers? What's a pearl necklace? What's the secret of the pearl necklace? How is it controlling our minds?
41. The United States Public Health Service banned the use of mercury in the felt industry. We can trace the felt hat industry back to mid-17th century France, and it most likely was introduced into England around 1830. Since its beginning, mercury was used in the process of the creation.
I think for men, sometimes the idea is to all look alike or as close to alike as possible. With women, it's to look as different. Like you can't wear dresses that are the same. You can't wear the same outfit more than once to the same in front of the same group. It's really, there's a lot of weird rules, social rules that have come and gone over the years.
These hats. At first, turkey camel hair was used for the felt material, and it was discovered that the process would be sped up if the fibers were moistened with camel.
Oh my gosh, we should try to convince this guy. We should send him emails about the chef hat theory and see if we can convince him to do a video on chef hats having dark origins, connections to mind control by a secret underground rat empire.
Urine. It is said that in France, the workmen would use their own urine to make these hats. One workman's urine worked the best for these felt hats, and everyone was so curious as to why this man's pee was so good at making felt hats. Well, this is the story that they tell us, that this worker had been treated for syphilis, and
And
back in the day, they would just shoot up mercury.
that's sort of folklore. I mean, that's I don't know how true that take is right there about the way that the pea was used, and that's how they found out mercury worked for it. What they use it for is like you scrape off the rabbit fur, like you scrape off the loose rabbit fur onto this glue covered area, and then you pour mercury over it to smooth it, and that's how it gets that soft felty feel. At least that's how they used to do it. And the substances that they would use to do it did include urine. I know that's true, but whether they found out because the guy had been treated for syphilis, and whether they should have been using their own pee, if they had syphilis, then I don't know. I guess if they're just playing in their own pee, but like if you're play in somebody else's pee, so they're just handing out syphilis hats too. Let's keep that in mind. I just want to put that out there that he's putting out piss-soaked syphilis hats. So take with that what you will.
To heal it, I guess, so that's how they tell the story. And this guy had mercury in his system. He was pissing on the fiber so that it would make better felt. And because the mercury was in his urine, they realized that it was the mercury that was responsible for creating these superior felt hats. This is the supposed reason that they started putting mercury in hats, for more quality hats? Well, that seems awfully strange because they were well aware of the effects of mercury poisoning, as they've been using it for medicine and alchemy for thousands of years. But the thing is, mercury poisoning would cause dementia and Mad Hatter disease, which could be characterized as delirium, hallucinations, and even suicidal tendencies.
Now, Mad Hatter disease or erethism is like a real affliction, right? That's been studied since this time period. But yeah, this portion is true. It's why it was a trade secret and they didn't tell anybody, because mercury was dangerous and they shouldn't be using it for this, and they were doing it anyway. And they did it for a long time as a trade secret.
With severe cases, this would produce tremors throughout different parts of the body, including the mouth and tongue, making it difficult to speak properly. Those are in overexposure cases. With just the right amount, these effects can be more mild and last for years without anyone noticing, producing effects such as fatigue, loss of memory, vivid dreams, and depression. So what is Mad Hatter disease? Exposure to mercury, even low levels for periods of time, can cause health problems in humans. Prolonged exposure can lead to chronic mercury poisoning. This may be called Mad Hatter disease or Mad Hatter syndrome.
Okay, before we let him get too far into it, we're just going to look at just real quick the Wikipedia article about it, just to kind of give us an outline of what we're dealing with and look at some of the citations maybe. Erethism, also known as erythemus mercurialis. Okay, mercurialis, I guess is how you say that. Mercurialis. I'm going to go with mercurialis. Mad Hatter disease or a Mad Hatter syndrome is a neurological disorder which affects the whole central nervous system, as well as a symptom complex derived from mercury poisoning. Erethism is characterized by behavioral changes such as irritability, low self-confidence, depression, apathy, shyness, and timidity. And in some extreme cases with prolonged exposure to mercury vapor, by delirium, personality changes, and memory loss. People with erethism often have a difficulty with social interactions. Associated physical problems may include a decrease in physical strength, headaches, general pain, and tremors, as well as irregular heartbeat. So it sounds like a bad time.
Mad Hatter disease causes severe neurological effects known as erethism. It can lead to symptoms like headaches, behavioral changes, and weakness. Then, during the 18th to 20th centuries, hat makers would use mercuric nitrate to stiffen felt for these hats. These hats would produce vapors in which those who wore them would not only absorb via their scalp, but would inhale in poorly ventilated areas. Over time, these hatters began having symptoms, including psychosis,
I think that's the Batman Mad Hatter right there from Batman.
excitability, and tremors throughout the body.
Second Batman mentioned today. Got Batman on the brain. I am excited about the new Joker movie with Lady Gaga in it, though, so maybe that's what it is.
It was so common that this is literally where the phrase, mad as a hatter, comes from.
Yeah.
Think about the long-lasting effects this would have, especially if the populace were not aware and it was promoted as the new fashion. I mean, everyone was wearing these back in the day. You were a nobody.
Just like the lead in paint. We know it's bad, but it has a purpose, and their industry is willing to hide it to make money. This is why we need things like the EPA and the FDA and things like that, that all the, currently here in the U.S. anyway, that one group is railing against and trying to get taken away. And that in the Department of Education. There's three corners right there to protect us from things like this, from experiencing things like this. So keep that in mind, Hive, that literally before we had environmental protection, before we had consumer health considerations, people just could sell whatever they wanted, and you could buy something that would slowly poison you. We had the glowing parts in clocks that were polonium. It's radioactive. Even in Kix cereal, they used to give out the rings, the glowing rings that were polonium.
If you didn't have one. So was there a purpose behind this? We all know of the crazy Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, but why does he have
Right, and just to go on just for a second longer, and you'll have people like saying stupid things like, when I was a kid, we didn't need warning labels. Well, when you were a kid, there was lead in your paint, pal. When you were a kid, they were... What's that red stuff that they put on you that doesn't do anything? Yeah.
So crazy. During Lewis Carroll's time, mercury was being used in the process of creating top hats, and the hatter is complete with all the characteristics of the disease. Erratic, flamboyant, and silly behavior, along with mood swings being the most obvious symptoms of mercury poisoning. Why would Lewis Carroll add this top hat reference? Is there a
because he wanted his characters to be whimsical and crazy, and a Mad Hatter is a whimsical, crazy character. That's how you write fiction. Iodine, there you go. Iodine.
deeper truth to this Mad Hatter character? Which, interestingly, in the newer films is presented more like a clown with red hair, or some type of demon, Nephilim, which is also interesting because people claim to be—
Oh, here we go. We got Demon Nephilim Clown, because the white face and stuff that they like to talk about over in the Nephilims look like clown. Adrenochrome. Yeah, adrenochrome is not... Adrenochrome's kind of... I don't want to say it's fictional, but like as a street drug, it's fictional. I'll just say that. And leave it there. Maybe I should do something on adrenochrome at some point. Maybe I can get Ben to come on and talk about adrenochrome, or I can go talk about adrenochrome over there. I don't know. Yeah, but clowns, Nephilims, keep up. Whose birthday is it? Happy birthday, Robert!
be visited by spirits of a similar nature. They call them Mad Hatter demons. They are demonic entities that have white faces.
Nobody calls them that. Stop trying to make Mad Hatter demons happen. They call it the Hat Man. It's just the Hat Man. It's got a name. It's very cool. Very mysterious. Very dark and edgy. We like it. The Mad Hatter demon is, yeah, what you would call your GoBot knockoff version of the Mad Hatter.
And wear the top hat.
Or the Hat Man.
You can find these symbols all over the place.
Oh, there you go, Johnny Depp. He's not even wearing a top hat here. What's up with that? You want a top hat? Top hat. No top hat. Did he wear a top hat in Sweeney Todd? he wear a top hat in Sleepy Hollow? Let me look and see. Sleepy Hollow. Crane. Top hat. Okay. Let's see if there's any images of him in the top hat. From Sleepy Hollow. I think that might have been... The story might have taken place before... before the top hat really came into fashion, because that was like when tricorn hats. We're gonna get a tricorn hats too. We're only 5 minutes in.
Even in games. But where does this phenomenon originate? It's obviously a huge part of our psyche, but why? They're just top hats. Is it more than just a fashion statement? Or does it possibly represent a much darker truth? The Lewis character may have been one of the earliest characters of a Mad Hatter, but there are references from the 17th century in which a man, Robert Crabbe, who was an eccentric living in Chesham, England, gave all his good to the poor and lived on dock leaves and grass. However, Carroll may have based his Mad Hatter character on a Theophilus Cater, not a hatter, but a furniture dealer who was known locally as the Mad Hatter, partly because he always wore a top hat, was eccentric, and produced wacky inventions.
That looks kind of cool. That's like a waving rocking bathtub patent. Whoosh. You just like grab a hold and you just rock back and forth. Sounds like it'd be a messy ride. To have a lid. Oh my gosh.
This phrase, from its origin, was used to describe those who were crazy and prone to unpredictable behavior. Most employees would staff a variety of ailments called the Hatter Shakes, which were speech problems, emotional instability, and hallucinations.
Well, it causes tremors. That's the main thing. They even had the Danbury Hat Factory gave us the Danbury Shakes.
Top hats' origins go far before Alice in Wonderland, as these were most likely inspired by capitaines, which is a tall-crowned hat from the late 1500s in northwestern Europe, worn by elites and their orphans. This is also known as the pilgrim hat. Why is it that all these pilgrims had top hats?
Okay, a pilgrim hat is not a top hat. I don't think they even look remotely like a top hat. They look more like a Stetson hat than a top hat. They don't really look like a Stetson hat.
It is said that they never really had a buckle on them, and even if they did, the buckle really didn't do anything. It's most likely a symbol or a reference. They actually didn't wear any buckles.
These aren't even the same kind of hats. You're just showing random different...
So,
that's not the same type of hat either. That's not a capotain. You're just showing random hats now.
Why is that in all these cartoons and
that's nothing like a capotain or a top hat.
Depictions of pilgrims?
Now all of a sudden, our guy is just going after just any hat at all, especially a hat with a symbol on it. All our hats seem to have symbols on them these days. Oh my goodness. Are they wearing a
buckle? Perhaps it's a secret gesture? So these early capitaines inspired the crown dark felt hats with wide brims that bursted in popularity during the leisure wear fashion during the 1770s age of revolution. In the 1780s, there came the justiciars, which were what the royal elite wore and the origin of the three-piece suit, or what we call a business suit. These were then made.
And a justiciar is nothing like a top hat. It's more like a tricorn hat than anything.
Made for the capitans, or captains, who would wear these capotains, which had many designs, but were most likely still using mercury for the stiffening process. There are the tricorn and bicorn hats, which were worn by many generals and top leading officials during the Napoleonic period.
Do you have any evidence that any of these other hats were made at all with the mercury formula that we just discussed? Because earlier you said that the origins that you wanted to present to us started in the late 19th century with a guy with syphilis peeing after he had mercury treatment for his disease. Now you're saying it goes way, way back, and I want to understand where you're getting that from. What evidence is there that the tricorn hats were stiffened with mercury at all?
By the 1790s, this elite dress wear was turned into fashion city wear for the upper and middle classes throughout the entire Western world. This was not some accident of culture in which these styles emerged from pure creativity. No, it was a purposeful design, a uniform, and this uniform was to serve a specific purpose.
It was a status symbol. Plain and simple, a status symbol.
There were some variations. Around the 19th century, there were beaver hats, then black and gray silk. Think about this compared to other cultures that were so colorful, vibrant, and creative with their fashion. There's a reason we get these dull colors.
Is that the penguin from Batman? More Batman? Batman on the brain, I swear. I don't know why I'm thinking about Batman so much. But come on.
Straight edges, box style fashion, it produces a certain culture, a specific type of consciousness. The dress coats were replaced by frock coats in the 1840s to become the conventional former outfit, and they would wear it on a daily basis. The top hats would be combined with a frock coat and white tie. This would be their identity, their representation, and anyone who did not conform was not a part of the club. You guys remember that episode of The Fairly Odd Parents?
They could make a really good, like, American Psycho kind of storyline about this, because the rigid fashion and stuff of that late 1900s, or sorry, 19th century. Yeah, that'd be an interesting go. Yeah, the original American Psycho is about the late 1900s. Yeah, late 1800s. About how they could force them to follow such rigid, how following, or not forced to follow, but how following such rigid social standards could cause someone to act erratic, especially if they were being slowly brain poisoned by mercury, which you could do in this story.
Where everyone was a gray blob? Well, it seems that's really what it was like back then. You may think it's a joke, but
What?
literally everyone was wearing...
Because this was before color was invented, you see. So, because all these pictures are black and white, that means these people had no color at all. Just a big black, white, gray blur.
these. Danbury, Connecticut has always been known as the Hat City. It was the hat-making capital of the world until the 19th century. At the peak of the industry, 5 million hats a year were produced in 56 different factories in Danbury. Why were they producing so many hats? These hats were literally causing the conditions known as the Danbury Shakes, which turned the populace into mad hatters. It is even said that this resembled drunkenness and that employers would exploit this condition.
Exploit the condition? Like, how would you exploit your employees acting like they were drunk? I would not want drunk people working in my factories. That sounds like OSHA violations. That sounds like a lot of jacking around and not getting work done, too.
Insane. The seal of the city of Dansbury during this period was literally a phoenix being burned within a crown, and on the shield we have a top hat, the ruins of a chimney, and a red banner that reads Restituimus in Latin, which means to restore or replace. Why would they be putting these top hats on a coat of arms or a city seal with a burning phoenix?
Because top hats were important to the city's early years. Just like they have a train on here, so they probably have the railroad was probably important to their early infrastructure. The smokestack probably is about their factory district in general, which was important to their early development and to their later establishment as a industrial capital. And then the phoenix is and the restorer is saying, hey, let this come back to Danbury. Let industry come back to Danbury, which every town who ever had a factory that shut down kind of has the same sentiment. But having a whole factory district shut down is probably pretty rough.
Also, strangely, researchers have suggested that Boston Corbett, the man who killed John Wilkes Booth, President Abraham Lincoln's assassin, might have suffered from poor health due to mercury poisoning. He apparently castrated himself as well with a pair of scissors.
Ah!
So wait,
Woo! Don't do that. Only get your parts adjusted by a medical professional. No home castrations.
They weren't smart enough to notice that these hats were causing literal insanity, yet they were making them for several centuries. They didn't stop using mercury in hats until 1941, and it's been that way since the 17th century.
Are they linking this to castration now? Because everybody's that they're showing, and if it's old paintings, why you gotta blur it? That's not gonna get like tagged by the censors or anything on YouTube. Like
Mercury in hats until 1941.
Why are you blurring it out? Being weird, making it weird. It's art. You can look at art without blurring it.
And it's been that way since the 17th century. They knew it was dangerous business, but that would mean that they did this on purpose. Think about it. We all know of the old world asylums. What if there's something more to this story of these top hats? Were the governments at this time knowingly drugging the populace?
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you have a video about Bedlam being a programming facility? I've researched Bedlam more than like a normal person should. The history of it and whatnot. Because it's very interesting. Started off as an almshouse, and then it became a hospital, and then slowly over time it became a place to bring your undesirables. And there you get your standard model for the insane asylum as it grew. It's a freaking interesting story. Maybe we'll cover it sometime. But there's been more than one location. I don't know what segment I would cover that on, though, because it doesn't really fit with the show. But this is from the Inventor show, or Inventor movie with the dinosaur and yeah. Anyway, that's a bowler hat, though. Bowler hats
would allow people to be more malleable, to stop people from asking too.
You're just general hats now. It's not even top hats anymore. It's just hats. Any kind of hat you wear on your head. Did he bring up cowboy hats? Did cowboy hats get stiffened with the same mercury process? Stetson hats were big in the West at the same time that these hats were big in the East.
Any questions? Even give the government a valid excuse to imprison people in these asylums. But more so, it would allow lower-level Masons, the inventors, businessmen, and other contributors to society to be more easily controlled. Perhaps a way to control the influencers of that age. Furthermore, hats are deeply rooted in the art of secret gestures, or the means in which one can secretly signal that they are part of a hidden group or society. This is the history of the...
Okay, to signal you're part of a secret society by wearing a big hat on your head. That's not secret, honey. It's not secret at all. Just like you just should the fez that's worn by Shriners. Yeah. So yeah, it's not. They're not secret.
Phrygian caps. Also, the red hats that are visible in Renaissance art. These were not only used to signify some...
Now, those aren't black hats. They aren't anything like that top hats that we've been talking about. Why are you moving the goalposts? Stop it.
Allegiance, but also a means in which minds could be controlled. If you wore the top hat, you were a part of Masonic society. You were a respectable man of industry. Yet, perhaps this explains why much of the populace did not question the directive of their higher-ups, including the history that they were given. This would turn the entire city or country into an insane asylum on a larger scale.
Wait a second, did that just imply that the graduation caps were also... Hold on.
This would turn the entire...
Because there's no top hat here, it's graduation caps. Oh, I guess that's one of those Capitan or whatever. Captain's hats right there, but it's like implying that all these people are going to get their brains melted by their hats, but they're only wearing graduation caps. Is the graduation caps stiffened with the mercury process? You sure are making a lot of claims here.
City or country into an insane asylum on a larger scale. an innovative idea for creating compliance without the populace even realizing it. Think about how this has transferred into the modern day. Sure, it's not done through hats anymore. I mean, it could be. But more so
That was good. I like that. Please do that again.
It's not done through hats anymore. I mean, it could be. But more so through the sky, our water supply, our food, and even what we watch on the television. It's all a means to make us so insane that we cannot see the insanity of the world we live in. Of course, they present this history with cases that highlight mercury poisoning and insanity to its extreme forms, but it's not typically brought up what were the underlying subtle effects from these top hats on the population as a whole. In many
there are lots of studies. Again, we can go back and look. People were writing about this ad nauseum for decades about the symptoms and the sickness. That's where we at. Okay, so yeah, you get the Journal of Public Health here talking about it. As far back as the 1870s, right? So this is 1890 here. This write up about the condition. It wasn't kept secret. They knew about it. It was published about as early as. Let's see where are we? I think it's this one. Russia in 1829. 1829, this was first recognized. So, as an issue arising from mercury poisoning with this heart or this stiffening process. So it's been known about for a long time. Just like some people kept doing it because it was so effective, but it looked good, of course. Of course it did.
The old photos and engravings, you find that almost everyone was wearing these top hats. So, are there symptoms that were not as obvious as the ones that are typically represented as Mad Hatters, as with Alice in Wonderland? Perhaps it wasn't always such extreme measures, but instead, it was a slow process of being medicated. Not everyone reacted the same way either, and not everyone went completely insane. However, it is possible that this may have had an effect on one's thinking and their ability to question the established narrative. So yeah, I don't
There's the conspiracy. Yeah, giving everybody mercury hats to make them pliable. This is the same argument as the fluoride in the water, right? And it makes people more docile.
trust anyone with a top hat. Especially if we look back in history, these were the Masons that came in and repopulated many of these cities. This was part of their uniform. Not the top royal level, but big players.
This is Tartaria stuff. That's why he can't say these are the people who came in and built these cities. He has to say rebuilt the cities because the cities were already there before they got covered in the mud flood, and the settlers from Europe dug them out of the mud and settled them. And these were their leaders, the top hat men. That is the theory. That is the conspiracy that we're talking about today.
Players for sure. And it was a means in which they would be able to be more malleable and controlled by their new societal norms of rising industry.
Miss Lemon, I love that you know about Tartaria. Have you ever talked about Tartaria on your show?
And production. Am I just mad as a hatter? Or is there perhaps something more to this story of the top hats? Well, it gets even more interesting. So the question is,
oh, now
did the
Plague
elite
Doctor.
Top authorities of the time know of the neurotoxic effects of mercury? Because if so,
So now the Plague Doctor hat is involved, which is just a broad-brimmed hat. So keep expanding.
Then that would mean there was a purpose other than fashion behind these uniforms or fashionable top hats. Well, mercury causes Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, and depression. If people were going mad just because of working conditions and the products they use, then why would they be administering mercury-based medicine since the 1700s? Well, the blue mass was a blue pill, which was a very common remedy for several illnesses such as syphilis, tuberculosis, constipation, parasites, and even as a pain medicine. Now, obviously, this is the story of how they did it back then. Literally, they would stick a syringe in their urethra and inject mercury. No joke, that's what the pirates like Blackbeard did. Even a cluster pump to deliver medical mercury enemas for quicker absorption. The story is that they just didn't know they were poisoning themselves.
They also
Because keep
put,
in mind,
hold on, they also put mercury in makeup. So there were plenty of things that had mercury in them. But yeah, blue mass pills were used for the treatment of syphilis in the 17th to the early 18th century. Blue mass was recommended as a remedy for such widely varied complaints as tuberculosis, constipation, toothaches, parasitic infections, and the pains of childbirth. Let's see, what's the ingredients? 33% mercury, 5% licorice, 25% althea, which is hollyhock or marshmallow, 3% glycerol, and 34% rose honey. So that would be honey made from by bees that had just access to roses. So that's what it was made out of. So it sounds like the only active ingredients were going to be the glycerol and the mercury, which will have the effects that glycerol and mercury have. Now, mercury can be used as a disinfectant, and does have some. It will help you with the healing process to some degree. Long-term exposure is really the problem with mercury. I didn't realize we were going to get into the blue mass. I just watched the first 2/3 of this video. Further information on the health of Abraham Lincoln, who was taking the blue mass pill for his melancholy. Let's get into that.
blue mass pill has a lot of mercury. Apparently, a typical daily dose of 2 pills would be 100 times the modern daily limit set by the Environmental Protection Agency in the US. So, if they were taking this basically for any illness, as a one cure-all method, which mercury is an antiparasitic, antiseptic, and has several other healing properties being used for over 2,000 years.
At least you acknowledge that, yeah, mercury does have its place in medicine, but
when given on a daily basis, or perhaps as some type of soma, or remedy for any sickness. But then you can imagine as they started to fill up these repopulated cities with poor and filthy habits, such as emptying chamber pots into the streets and no solid waste management, that over time, they would need to use this type of method of healing constantly and on a daily basis. At some point, the elite would have noticed the mental side effects and the long-term effects of heavy metal toxicity. So,
well, they would have been exposed to it as well. The elites would have been, right? That's the problem with your theory. If they were trying to establish this fashion in the common man, right? Like in the worker class, and then they in the upper class wasn't inflicting this upon themselves, because it's really weird to say, yeah, the leaders made themselves more pliable, because that seems like that they'd be more pliable to the needs of the people. Like, you get your king to wear this top hat, and then he'll write any decree that you ask him to, because he's pliable now. It doesn't work in this theory doesn't work in reverse the way that you want it to.
These pills would be used as a matrix drug, a way to keep people from thinking too much, a way of forgetting about higher realms and being locked into material reality, while at the same time dumbing our intelligence and ability to be curious of the realm we live in.
Tartaria is the source for Lemuria and Atlantis, I believe. All that's tied into the Tartarian Empire. I think that the idea is that they were originally the Atlanteans, but when Atlantis sank, the Tartarians went west and east, so they settled northern Europe, and then they also settled North America. And that's the folklore. And then from North America and Europe, they're kingdom spread all the way around to Lemuria, or Mu as it's sometimes called. Oh, it goes deep!
We know these pills were used in London. The Edinburgh New Dispensatory, 1789, instructs the making as follows. Pilula ex hydrogyro, London, quicksilver pills. Take a purified quicksilver, extract of licorice, having the consistence of honey of each 2 drams.
Yeah,
licorice.
if we noticed when we looked up well, he's talking about the ingredients for it. Yeah, it's all like candied sweet stuff to try to make it more palpable.
Finely powdered, 1 dram. Rub the quicksilver with this extract of licorice until the globules disappear. Then, add the licorice powder. Mix them together. End of instructions. So this seems to have been a very popular pill.
Snake oil,
Oh,
right?
and Abraham Lincoln even took these blue mass pills for treatment of chronic melancholia. It was reported that during this time, Lincoln experienced neurological symptoms, insomnia, tremor, and rage attacks, which suggests that he was suffering from mercury poisoning. He then realized something was up with these blue.
Yeah, I think Lemuria and Mu are the same, right? That's what that's the Pacific version of Atlantis. Like off the Philippines and stuff somewhere. But it was part of the Tartarian Empire too, before the mud flood. So Atlantis, the fall of Atlantis was before the mud flood. So Atlantis fell, then Tartarians ruled, and the mud flood came. Yeah.
Pills a few months after his inauguration and stopped taking them, and his symptoms disappeared, replaced by the patience that would mark his presidency, or at least that's what they say. Okay, or maybe it was time for him to wake up from the Matrix to implement a greater plan. Apparently, Lincoln was taking a dose of mercury on a daily.
Oh my gosh, look at this conspiracy here. I love it. If you reach into your pocket, it doesn't matter which hand either, because we see how inconsistent this is. You got right and left coming at you. But could it be just a coincidence that all of these famous men and women, when posing for pictures or portraits, hid one of their hands? Doom, doom, doom.
Daily basis that was 9,000 times over the safety standard today. Also, Blue Mass, which is the name of the pill, is a Roman Catholic Mass celebrated in the United States since the 1930s. So is this some type of mass religious mental software that needs to be controlled through the subtle medication of the populace through a perceived...
Blue Mass is like a cop or a law enforcement appreciation by the Catholic Church. That's all it is. I think they add firefighters to it too. Like emergency services, I guess. Blue Mass is, that's a better way to describe it. Blue Mass is emergency response services appreciation.
Miracle medicine said to cure all? Or was it doing the opposite? And if they knew
Golden
the
nugget
effects of
tabs,
mercury
yum!
poisoning, then why would you continue to use this method in the making of top hats, knowing full well that there were health concerns?
Because it's fiat capitalism without regulation. That's what it is. This is why we have the socialist programs that everybody complains about now, because people were doing shit like this. This is what the libertarians want to go back to. This is the libertarian position, is that these people should have been able to keep making their poison hats and their poison pills and their snake oil in the back of their wagons and continuing to hawk, because that's libertarian. They have the right to do that, to swindle people into buying snake oil, like freaking Kent Hovind with his apricot seeds, selling freaking poison.
Was this a procedure in which the masses were given uniforms and secretly drugged at the same time? Not only that, but all who took the pill were a part of the club, the culture, for this was the new norm. If you didn't have a top hat or take your medicine, there was something severely wrong with you. You're the weird one for not taking your meds.
Wait a second. No, there was not a pressure to take your meds back then, unless you were Lincoln had severe depression in his youth. That's why they were trying to treat that. And mercury treatment was an early option for that, and it didn't work. But That's how medicine has progressed through time, especially pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals has been a slow progress. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Where have we heard that before? It's not like this was never thought of in the past. Well, like I said, I don't trust anyone with a top hat, and you shouldn't either. Otherwise, you'll become a part of the mass or masses. You may go insane, and you may be unknowingly a part of a higher
he didn't
cult
even mention the witch hats. The witch hats would have been a good tie-in to this. You didn't even talk about it.
system. Stay weird, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Why was everyone constantly wearing these suits as uniforms? Even on the beach? When hiking? It was almost as if they had no other clothes, which is very strange. Grooming everyone to become a professional.
Back up until like the 1950s, most people only had 2 or 3 pairs of clothes. Up through the 1950s, really. Buying multiple outfits and stuff is a newer concept. And you'd wear your same outfit for a few days. You didn't have a lot of choices, especially if you had something nice like that. You would get up and put that on every day, freshen it with some like perfumes and stuff, but you wouldn't regularly wash it. Those top hats were not washable at all. You couldn't. Even kind of ironically, even the rain could sully them and make them slump. That's where you get the poor hobo guy with the slumped top hat because because his top hat's been exposed to the rain so much that it's slumped. Because it rinses that hardening agent out of it right into your skull. But do with that what you will. The magician hat didn't come up really either.
A businessman, an elite, a groomed influencer, controller. Anyways, I'm gonna say no to the blue pill, and so should you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and all we can hope is that our minds may be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind.
So the blue pill analogy, like from the Matrix, I think he's trying to link that in here. That's kind of funny. I don't know if the Wachowski sisters, if they were thinking about blue mass when they made the blue pill, red pill. I don't know. I always thought it was more like a blue oni, red oni kind of situation. But yeah, you take the red pill and you break free from the Matrix. Yeah, leave your what is the meme? Leave your Neo. Leave your active social life, your cushy office job, and come live in a cave with us and eat slop. You're being used as a human battery. It's like, well, can I contract with the Matrix robots for a better storyline? If I can do that, then I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna be full on. What's his name? I wouldn't betray everybody like Pantaleones, who played him. I don't remember the name of the character, but what's the benefit of being outside of the Matrix? They keep you warm and safe. You live a long, happy life. You're like a plant being kept in a sunny porch and watered every day. You're being well taken care of, and you get to live in your dream world. So I'm not seeing a downside to staying in the Matrix, personally. That's just me, though. I mean, what do you think? I don't think top hats do any kind of mind controller or anything of that nature. I do think that they make people more timid with the mercury poisoning, so there's that. Anyway, you let me know what you think about the notion of top hats being used throughout history to mind control the upper elites. Let me know what you think. Remember to be kind and take care, and we will see you next time.
Well, I don't know how many years on this earth I got left. I'm gonna get real weird with it.
for some